I don't know if we've gone live or not. Let us know, Mary, if we've gone live. I'll be like, howdy, folks. I'm Helga, the haranguing
Herring.
herring, a horrible herring. That's what I was trying to
Okay.
say. Helga, the haranguing horrible herring.
All right, let's take it from the top.
No, that's too late now. We're live. You can't take it from the top
You could
now.
try again anyway.
I'm Helga, the horrible herring that's haranguing people.
Brian's actually has a red herring. If you notice, this is
That's maroon or
it's basically
burgundy.
red. It's close enough. He's a red herring.
Yeah. Oh, they're just waiting for the tow truck and then the go ahead from the police. Well, that's terrible. Well, I'm glad no one was hurt, Mary. That's awful. Bad luck. Bad luck. So, yeah, we've got a couple of great stories here for you today. So, why don't we we'll get started, I think, because like we're a minute early. I mean, I imagine that most people will probably be on their way in a second here. We'll like pop on over to the next story here, the first story. That seem reasonable?
Well, we should give people another minute to get here, but
Oh yeah, I mean we can give people another minute. Ember, the voice of mercy for earliness. So today I just got a letter from my high school. All right, and to paint a picture here, they just raised a huge amount of funding, I guess, for like this field house that they've been building for the last whoever knows how long. And now I get an email or message from them in the mail, and they're like, "Hey, can you send us money because this is basically like a critical need. We need a scoreboard for the field house to give the athletes instant feedback for their races, right?" And the thing is that when I ran races, when I was younger and more spry, I ran races, and the way we got our feedback was our coach timed us with a stopwatch, or we won or didn't come in first. It was just like they wanted to be able to give the viewers like some kind of instant feedback here, and so it's just kind of odd that they want the scoreboard of all things, right? So yeah, I just thought that was an interesting thing to share. So all right, but why don't we get started then? So our first letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for lying to my son about something in a video game?" And this one I think is kind of wholesome. It's a little bit wholesome. It's kind of interesting. So for Christmas, my wife, a 32-year-old female, and I, a 35-year-old male, got our son, a 7-year-old male, his own Nintendo Switch, since I already owned one and he got hooked on it when we played together. We decided to get one for himself. I gave him access to all our Switch games, and I recommended Super Mario Odyssey since he really enjoyed it, and he loves it. He likes Mario as a whole because we have played Mario Kart before he got his own Switch, and his favorite character was Toad. He was delighted to find that there are many Toads in Odyssey. However, when I was watching him play, he remarked that in a game where you could capture the enemies, you could not capture the Toads. Well, for some reason, I told him that you could actually do that. When he asked me how, I came up with something off the top of my head, and I told him that in the Mushroom Kingdom, you can find the hidden toad stacks if you beat the game under an hour, similar to stacks of Goombas that you encounter in some levels. Well, ever since then, mid-January, he has been playing the game after school quite a bit and has been getting really good at it as far as I can tell. He still does his homework and chores, goes outside, and doesn't neglect his friends, but other than that, he has basically been grinding this game. I think he can almost beat it around an hour now, which is super impressive in my opinion. However, even though he has made significant progress, I'm starting to regret the false promise that I made and fear the moment where he actually consistently is able to beat the challenge. I thought that he would forget about the reward and see it as sort of a journey along the way mentality, But last time I talked to him before writing this post, he told me that he was very excited to be able to finally play as Toad. I told my wife about the situation last night I lost my place. Sorry about that. And she thought that it was kind of funny and cute, but she mentioned that he might be more than a bit upset and start to develop trust issues when he finds out that I lied to him. I told her that I wanted to light a spark of exploration in him, similar to when I played Super Mario 64 as a kid and heard all the playground rumors. She thought that was nice of me, but warned me that he will share it with his friends and they might call him a liar and at worst stop being friends with him. So this is where I am right now. I don't know whether to tell him the truth or wait for the potentially rude awakening. On my Switch, I have actually modded the system with custom firmware and have been able to tinker and think that I might be able to replace the models of Goombas with Toads so that it theoretically could be possible to make the Toads stack up and be playable. This would probably soften the blow, but it would also require me to learn a lot about modding games since I haven't created any mods before. But I think that in the long run, it might be worth it and give him something to look forward to and laugh back on. I might be overreacting, but I need to know if I'm the jerk here. Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
I think Opie needs to start getting to work on modifying the game.
Oh yeah?
I mean, I don't know why he would assume the kid wouldn't, like, take his word and start, like, oh, I just want him to, light that exploration. It's like, you can't just lie to kids. They remember way more than you think they do.
Yeah, I think that this was something that was done rashly and without a whole lot of thought, and now he's kind of going to pay the consequences for it. And he's right. Like when people were younger, there was not a lot of consolidated information out there, and so all these playground rumors used to get started about all these crazy things that you could do to unlock certain things in video games, and 90% of it was just fake and false, right? But that wasn't coming directly from our parents, unless they were my parents. Well, my dad. Well, kind of like that, my dad actually lied to us when I was a kid. He played video games, right? But he was a horrible cheat, for one. He was a terrible cheat. He would modify the video game so that he could modify the scoreboard, and then he would get the high score and always just make it a little bit higher than the last person's score, so that they would have to work a little bit harder to beat his score. And he never told people what he was doing, right? And then on top of that, he had a game, well, I had a game called Star Voyager when I was a kid, right? And he claimed that you could get the super weapon by doing these certain things, that it was on some kind of planet or something like that. It wasn't, right? It was not where he said it was, and I know this because I played that game endlessly to find that weapon, and I eventually found it, and it wasn't where he said it was.
This is what happens when you lie to your kids about video games, and they will remember it decades later. Like, that's why I'm saying, OP, you just need to reverse engineer the game, like, right yesterday, and, that's the best. You'll eventually have to come clean, but at least the kid will be like, oh, well, my dad went to all the trouble to do this for me, so.
And Mary says, this is beyond me. Anything more complicated than Frogger is beyond me. It's all like Frogger. I was once an ace at Pong. Pong is a classic. It's a classic. And Frogger is too. I always liked Frogger, I wasn't very good at it, but I liked it.
My family was always very behind on video games, so, like, we get an Atari. That was my first game system when I was 8, and I was a 90s child, so, like, just to give you a sense of how far behind we were.
Well, I mean, we do kind of live out here where everyone's kind of behind in technology.
Well, I was in the Math Masters program, and I was telling him that, and he's like, but aren't you my age? And it's like, yes.
So, yeah. We're a little behind the times. Alright, our next letter is titled, Will I Be a Jerk If I Take My Ex Off My Phone Plan? Okay, so my ex-fiance and I have been split up for about 3 months now. We are trying to work out the finances and stuff, and I've been paying for his phone and mine because I was trying to give him time because he was switching jobs and stuff like that and asked for more time. But 2 weeks ago, I found out this dude has a girlfriend. So he has found time to get a girlfriend. He obviously had time to get his money in the check, right? Well, the phone bill is due in 2 days, and I asked for money for it, but he started complaining about money. And I'm like, I'm not complaining. I just am asking for what is due. It's not right that I'm paying for a phone that he uses to talk to his girlfriend. And mind you, we have a kid together, and he doesn't call his kid. And he doesn't see his kid either. But I'm sure he is talking and texting her. I tried sending him a text, and the dude blocked me. And like, bro, I pay for the phone. Why are you blocking me? I'm very annoyed, and I just want to take him off. But I don't know if I should give him a warning or just do it. He has had 3 months to figure out finances, but instead he found a girlfriend. He is making stupid choices, and it's not fair that I'm working my butt off and budgeting when he's just doing who knows what. I just feel like it's unfair that I'm paying for it, and I want to just shut it off. It's in my name and my account, and I bought it on when we were dating. But I don't know if that would be a jerk move to do. Will I be the jerk? Alright, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. I mean, you've been subsidizing his lifestyle long enough. If he can't even be, like, if he blocks you, like, how are you supposed to give him warning anyway?
Well, that's just it. Is like, you're going to have to eventually meet up with him and tell him. I mean, I think fair warning is probably fine. But also, at a certain point, when you're acting like a nasty person, you can't expect people to do favors for you. And I think this is what sometimes people forget, is like, you need to, no one is obligated to do you a favor, right? And the fact of the matter is that she has been more than accommodating, and he needs to realize that if he acts like this, then people aren't going to want to help him out.
Yeah, well, it seems like he just if I just block her, this whole problem goes away, and she keeps paying for my phone indefinitely. And I'm like, no, OP, just cut him off.
Yeah, it's 4D chess right there. And Mary says, not the jerk, blocked you. Cut him off at the knees. And take him to small claims court for his past bills. Wow, we were going for the jugular there.
I agree. Like, he's just not being a good person.
Well, yeah, he's not being a very good person. And it is one of those situations where people shouldn't take advantage of other people. And I think that that's really just completely unfair and unacceptable for him to do that. But speaking of unfair, am I the jerk for agreeing to go on a family vacation in place of our honeymoon? And this one's a wild one, so hang on to your seats. Mary's being a curmudgeon. That's what she says. Some quick background facts. My family friends of ours go on vacation together every year. This has been a tradition since I was maybe 11 years old, and I'm now 27. Each year, my parents and the other family's parents alternate who plans to pay for the vacation. Well, this year, our family friend's turn. I'm getting married in just a few weeks, where we were planning on going on our honeymoon towards the end of the year, but haven't put a specific date in place yet. I work for my dad, and I can pretty much get whenever I would like off, and she only has so much PTO. So we're trying to be strategic with our plans. I told everyone that I would like to have to skip the vacation this year because of my fiance's work situation and our honeymoon. Well, last week, my bonus dad came to me and told me that he had booked a room for me and my girlfriend. He had booked a room for me, and my girlfriend was more than welcome to come along too if she changed her mind, but that he was insistent on the family being together for the trip. Honestly, there is nothing that can beat vacations that we take. The places that are great, and the company is even greater. My sister is so busy these days and lives out of state, so I get to catch up with her. The family we travel with has 3 sons who are some of my closest friends. Beyond all that, you can't really beat an all expense paid holiday. Well, I told my fiance about this, and she's very angry, and that I didn't immediately shut it down. I told her that we weren't required to consistently do family activities, and this could easily serve as part of one of our honeymoons. We haven't even started planning, so there's no real plans to derail, and we can have our actual honeymoon as a first anniversary celebration since we weren't planning on going right after our wedding anyways. All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Yeah, making unilateral decisions is never a great idea. And what happens on your, the next year when it's your parents' turn to plan? They're like, oh, but OP, we can't have a family vacation without you.
Yeah,
Like, this whole situation, it's like, he, your family, OP, is your fiance as well. Like, she is your family, and you're choosing to create a family with her and to treat her as like the way that the other dad was like, oh, your girlfriend can come with us. Like, if he actually said it like that and not fiance, not, bride to be or something like that, he seems very dismissive of OP's relationship with his partner.
yeah.
And that is very problematic.
Well, and there's actually more to that, right? And so on this story, one of the friends that he has used to be his high school partner, right? And so he actually dated the high school partner for a couple of years.
So he's choosing to go on a vacation trip with his ex over his honeymoon with his fiance.
Yeah, and that's really what this kind of boils down to. And Mary also says this is a 2 yes, 1 no situation.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
And so I really have a bad feeling about this, and I feel like the friend dad, his second dad as he likes to call him, is basically not happy that OP is getting married to this other person and may even be interested in derailing that relationship.
Honestly, OP's fiance, just run. That's what I'm getting from the story, is just run. If he's choosing this family trip over you, just run.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunately what might have to happen at this point in time, is that if he's making these kind of priorities right now and he's willing to railroad any plans or supersede them, then this might be a little bit more of a problematic situation in the future. And like, this might just be the status quo, and that's not a very good place to be, especially if you're always having to play second fiddle to another family.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel really bad for her in this situation because it seems like she's getting the short end of the stick. But speaking of getting the short end of the stick, our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for not letting my friend's daughter go to a concert? A little while ago, I, a 42-year-old male, took care of my friend Edward, a 42-year-old male, 15-year-old daughter, Mina, while Edward and his wife went out of country for 1 week business trip. Ed and I grew up together, and I'm very close with his family, so Mina was comfortable with this arrangement. Well, one night, while Mina was taking out the trash, she tripped and the trash went flying out of her hands and right into my car. There were also some blunt objects and glass bundled up in the trash, so not only was my car dirty, but it had suffered some dents and some chips as well. As her legal guardian for that week, I took it upon myself to discipline Mina. I knew that during the weekend, she and her friends were planning to go see their favorite artist perform, so I decided that it was only fair to forbid Mina from going to the concert. And instead of getting her to assist in the cleanup of my driveway and the car during the weekend, as well as having her do additional chores around the house to make up for the cost of the damage sustained by my car. Mina is a bit shy and non-confrontational, so thankfully she just took this all without complaining. Well, Ed and his wife came back from their business trip. A few days after they returned, they knocked on my door, very irate. Mina had told them about what had happened with the car, and after we had a long, unpleasant, awkward talk about boundaries and how I was not entitled to discipline their daughter like that. I told Ed and his wife that I would reimburse them for the tickets, and in fact, I offered to pay them twice what they had paid for the tickets, but they wouldn't hear any of it. Anyways, now Ed is no contact with me. Am I the jerk? Well, what do you folks think?
Yeah, OP is definitely being a jerk here. I mean, the girl tripped. It was completely accidental, and so the audacity to be like, now you have to do extra chores and you can't go to this concert. Like, you shouldn't be punished for things that are legitimately accidental and just like, yeah, the car got damaged. It's unfortunate, but like maybe if you hadn't been making her do chores in the first place, it wouldn't have happened.
Well, I mean, I don't think chores are necessarily the problem itself. I think it's his whole attitude that she deserved to be punished for an innocent mistake.
Well, certainly. I just meant like, when I stayed over at friends' houses, we weren't normally expected to like take part in the chores, and so I just find that a little strange to begin with.
Yeah, yeah. Mary says, "You're the jerk. For pity's sake, it was an accident. I'm glad the long talk was unpleasant and awkward." Well, I am too, and I think that's really an important point. Is that the parents were here to basically stand up for Mina, and I don't even know if the damage would have been as much as the tickets or twice the cost of the tickets, because tickets these days cost a lot of money. So this was kind of a poor idea on his part, because he basically is now going to owe even more if he had paid that money than what he would have just for the repairs on the car. And surely his friends he could have talked to them if he was concerned about this, right?
Well, that is the thing, is like, if he had their number, why didn't he call them and talk to them about the situation? Why did he just make this unilateral decision?
Exactly. Hi, Morgan.
Hi.
Morgan has joined us. So, yeah, I think that this is certainly a poor judgment on his part at the very least. Speaking of poor judgment, our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for reporting my classmate for joking that I have pretty privilege?" Background. I'm a 23-year-old female, and I'm one of only a few female students in a male-dominated course. Furthermore, I am at a highly prestigious university, and I haven't really gotten along with the guys on my course. They are all very competitive, and I don't really enjoy their company. Everything turns into a contest, and they definitely take me less seriously because I'm a woman. I stopped interacting with them beyond the mere minimum and chose to hang out with other people. Well, anyways, I did well on our recent exam. I topped out of the top 2 out of the top 4, so our professor congratulated me during class. I wouldn't have had advertised this myself. Ever since then, my interactions with a specific group of male classmates have gotten weird. They're now outright rude and challenge me aggressively in class discussions. We recently had some presentations, and one of them chose to do theirs, to simply put it, on pretty privilege. They specifically pointed to 2 papers that suggest that pretty female students get overscored in assessments. The other guys in the group snickered, and even one gave me a wink. Afterwards, I heard them in the hallway joking that they had experienced with that themselves. I've been seeing a PhD student within our department for a month. He literally has nothing to do with our course. We ran into one of our course mates, A, together. The next day in class, his friend B asked me if my boyfriend helped me with my exams. He said this intentionally loud in front of our professor, who heard this. I replied that I don't have a boyfriend because he's not my boyfriend, but then B pointed out that he had run into me with a PhD student and made a point to say that his name, the professor, knows him. I just replied that we were only friends. They didn't let up. I heard that they had discussed 2 more things in class, in earshot of the professors. Both times they suggest that I got help for my exams. I wasn't even seeing him then. I didn't confront them, but this has been causing me so much anxiety. Even without the exam accusations, I worked hard to get here, and I don't want to be known among the faculty for my date life. I raised the issue with my supervisor without the intention of taking it any further, but I wanted her advice as a woman in academia. She convinced me to let her email their supervisors to remind them of proper conduct and describe their treatment of an unnamed female student. She didn't name me, but they figured it out. They confronted me after class and asked why I would report their silly jokes. Apparently, their supervisors are now very cold towards them and less interested in helping. It's not a formal complaint, so only their supervisors know. But one of them, C, said his supervisor writes the reports for his financial aid and scholarship, and it was my fault he lost out on that. Now I feel a little bit embarrassed that this was compounded by a friend telling me that I look out for the scholarship, so he shouldn't have lost it. I think that's really what they're saying. So am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
No, not the jerk. What is happening here is way more than the title suggests. Like, these students are creating a hostile work environment for you. They are sexually harassing you, OP, and like, you deserve to feel safe in your courses and not to be harassed.
Yeah.
Like, this is definitely report worthy.
Yeah, I think that OP took this to an appropriate place. I mean, this wasn't even a formal complaint, right? This was just their supervisors in between everyone, and they were acting like poor people. And so if their supervisors don't want to help people who are acting unsufferable, I don't think that's a problem, right?
Yeah, and it's just such a, very uncool accusation to be like, oh, clearly she's getting help from her boyfriend. Like, it again, they're trying to diminish her, and, they're upset that a girl can best them in things, and they're really just taking it out on her, and that's just not cool.
Yeah. And Morgan says, I don't understand why. It was just let's wait for the rude awakening. So yeah, I mean, there was a pretty rude awakening, unless she's talking about story 1. I'm not sure where she is on that, if she's rewatching it, because I know you can like do the replay. So Mary says, not the jerk. Boyfriend comment is tantamount to accusing OP of misconduct of the lowest kind, and he deserves losing out on his petty privilege. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's actually a really important point here, is that, he is basically accusing her of cheating.
Yeah, well, and these kind of remarks could sabotage her entire career if people were to buy into them and assume that she's just, sleeping her way to the top.
Now, and the thing is that even if she was getting help studying, right, like some kind of input, like he was tutoring her or whatnot, there's no policies against tutoring, right? There's no policies against someone helping you study. Now, if he had the answers to the exams and then was giving them to her, that would be completely different, right?
Right, but then that would just be an issue of academic dishonesty. I mean, and that's an entirely separate issue.
So, yeah, I don't think that OP is in the wrong here. But I think that these people who are harassing her are certainly not good individuals and got what they deserved. And, speaking of getting what you deserve, I don't even know if that one fits here. I'm trying for a nice segue, but I don't know if the segue even fits. Am I the jerk for letting my sister walk me down the aisle despite my fiance and his family's objection? I'm a 23-year-old female, and I was raised by my older half-sister, a 32-year-old female. I never met my dad or our mom, and our mom OD'd when I was 10, and my sister was 19. My sister's dad was still in her life and was willing to support her, but not me. My sister chose to be my guardian, and her father's family went low contact with her as a result. In order to raise me, she gave up a lot. Her relationship with her father, college, her 20s, and so much more. Well, a month ago, I got engaged, and I told my sister that in addition to being my maid of honor, I would also like her to be the one to walk me down the aisle. All of my life, she has had to fulfill so many other roles for me, big sister, mother, father, friend, that only felt right that those multiple roles would be honored on one of the biggest days of my life. My sister was ecstatic, and so was I. But when I brought it up with my fiancé, he objected. My future in-laws are very traditional, and my fiancé had always expected that his wedding would be very traditional white wedding. He said that it was great that my sister was my maid of honor, but that her having 2 roles wasn't, and that it wasn't appropriate for her to walk me down the aisle since that's usually done by a man. Apparently, his family had assumed that my future father-in-law would be the one to give me away since I didn't have any male relatives. I told him that I appreciate that his father was willing to fill that role, But the one who would who made me the person that I am is my sister, and so it's right that she's the one to give me away. It turned into an argument that spread to my in-laws. My mother-in-law called me a few days ago to say that although she understands how important my sister is to me, that it's also my fiance's wedding, and that I shouldn't be putting my sister before him on that day. I definitely heard her on that, but it's still important to me. At this point, my sister has even said that she doesn't mind just being the maid of honor, and that she doesn't want to turn my happy day into something stressful. So now it's just me holding out and being stubborn. But I really don't want to concede on this point. Am I being the jerk?
No, I don't think so. I mean, and honestly, this is where you get to see who your fiance is as a person. Like, if he's so upset at the idea of you having someone who's not a man walk you down the aisle, maybe you should be rethinking whether he's really the right person for you. Because a good partner would just be like, oh, absolutely, your sister has done so much for you. It's great you want to honor her in this way.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he finds it a little weird or not traditional, like, he should be able to keep that to himself and just let you have the walk down the aisle in the way you want to.
Mm-hmm. And Mary says, oh my goodness, not the jerk. What a beautiful way to show how appreciative OP is of her sister's sacrifice, and how symbolic it is for the father-in-law to give her away. That the pitcher can't catch. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Like, the father-in-law hasn't been in OP's life very long. He hasn't done much for her. Like, this is typically a role that's given to someone who's had a big hand in raising someone, and so the sister seems a much more suitable choice.
It does. I think that they're just being really weird about this, because there's no reason why the sister can't do this, and why does it have to be a man? That seems really sexist.
It does.
I think that OP's sister doesn't need to be a man in order to have been an important role model in her life, and be an important person in her life, and to provide her support and guidance. And I think the parents here really should put their own nose into their own business. So I really think that this is just not a good situation for OP here. Just does not seem like a good family to join, to be quite honest. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that one. But our next letter is titled, Will I be a jerk for not returning $1,000 gift given to me by my coworkers for my baby? Throwaway, too long didn't read, the title. Me, a 34-year-old female, piercing old memories together with new ones that I just got, or piecing old memories together with new ones I just got. December 2019, I tell my boss that I'm going to be quitting at the end of January 2020 to be self-employed, but boss asked me to stay on payroll so he can contract out my work essentially to me easily. On my last day, coworkers leave me a goodbye card with $1,000 cash in it. March 2020, I move a few hours away. Well, last week, March 2023, I see a former coworker who pats my stomach and asks me if this is my second. I die internally because she thinks that I'm pregnant. I know I'm 20 pounds over where I would like to be, and a lot of this is on my gut, and a couple with a super curved lower spine made my belly stick out even more than as I got fat. I tell the coworker that I don't have any kids, that I'm just fat, and she looks awkward, and I feel awkward. 0 out of 10, I would not repeat. Well, this morning I get a call from HR passing on a message from a different coworker asking for the going away cash to be returned, as though it was meant as a maternity gift for, quote, my baby. And that me being fat and wearing shirts that emphasize my belly was deceptive, and I tricked that coworker into thinking that I was pregnant. HR says that she overheard the conversation about me leaving, but continued to do some work in the coming months and took that as my maternity leave. She took donations from the staff under the pretense, and now my fatness and lack of babiness is the hot office gossip. Feeling super great about that too. HR says they can't force me to do anything, but it would be nice to return it. Well, here's the thing. I no longer have the card, but I am sure that it did not say anything about there is a kid inside of you. It had two pandas on the front that, now as I'm typing it, I do remember there was a big one hugging a smaller one, so maybe it was about babies. But it definitely didn't say anything like a bun in the oven or your adult fun time was successful. We think that you're pregnant. I'm certain that I would remember that because it's a super big insecurity that I've had for the past 5 years since I started gaining weight. Medical side effects. And husband keeps saying that nobody thinks that you look pregnant. So haha, sucks to be wrong, hubby. This is a very hollow victory. I'm feeling crushed and upset that the going away gift wasn't actually a going away gift, and not once did excuse me not once did any of my coworkers actually ask if I was pregnant. I don't really want to return the money. The cash is long since gone, but I could pull 1K from my bank account back. Old boss has been emailed about the entire exchange, posting here while I wait for a reply, and him Googling women's fashion to hide belly fat and feeling horrible about my body.
Bye, Mary.
Bye, Mary. So, yeah.
No, you're not the jerk. And honestly, I would report HR to someone. Like, this is not the kind of thing that HR should be getting involved in.
No, it really isn't. This is really bizarre that they are actually involved here.
Like, because this is an interpersonal conflict between coworkers. This is not, like, it's so weird that they'd ask you to give back money that was given away 3 years ago, too, on top of that. Like,
Yeah, I think that the statute of limitations on this have long since expired.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, I feel bad that they thought that she was pregnant, but it seems like this was far more hard on OP than it was on them, right? Like, who's gonna miss the money at this point in time? This was a long time ago.
Well, and you know what they say about assumptions. Like, the people made a bad assumption.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you don't just, like, assume things. And, if you're wrong about your assumptions, you're wrong. Like,
Yeah.
that's, at the end of the day, all there is to it.
Yeah, well, that's just it, is that they are wrong. They made some poor assumptions, and now they're trying to make OP suffer for those poor assumptions. And that's not fair to OP. I know it's not fair to them to have paid this money, but it was a going away gift, right? You don't ask for going away gift money back after you've already left.
Right. Well, an OP never asks for it. Once you give a gift, you've given a gift. Even if you make bad assumptions behind the gift, it's like if you think someone is secretly really poor and you give them a bunch of money and then you find out they're rich, like, you still can't ask them back even if you feel like they should have let me know this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's one of those situations where, like, you weren't entitled to that information. You made an assumption and it was a bad one.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. It was a terrible assumption. A terrible assumption. Morgan's still catching up with us, it looks like. I wonder if she'll actually catch up, or if she's like watching it at like a double speed or something. Our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for telling my girlfriend to learn how to paint her nails?" I'm a 21-year-old male and my girlfriend is a 20-year-old female, and decided a couple months ago to save some expenses and do her nails at home instead of going to the nail salon every 2 weeks. The only problem is that she is really bad at it. Like, she doesn't clean her cuticles, can't make it last for more than a day without chipping, can't even have them equal lengths, etc. She doesn't ask very often for my opinion on her nails, but when she did start asking and started doing themselves and asked for my opinion, she also said that she knows that they're not perfect and that she'll get better at it. And I agreed. She's not getting any better at it. In fact, they look even worse now because she started doing nail art like how a toddler would. Well, that's just rude.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I really couldn't care less whether she paints her nails or not, but I do think that if she decides to do them herself, then she needs to do it right. Otherwise, they look just bad and unprofessional. So, when she told me yesterday that she thinks that she's finally mastered her techniques, not even close, I told her that what I really think of her nails, and she got upset and said that she can't afford to go to the nail salon every 2 weeks. And if I care so much about her nails and how they look, then I should be paying for it. I told her that she's a full-grown adult, so I shouldn't be paying for her manicures. And that if she can't afford that, then either she needs to stop painting her nails or learn how to do it properly. I'm sure that even I could do better job than her after watching a few tutorials. We're now on slightly better terms, but she's still kind of mad at me and doesn't want to talk about it. Am I the jerk?
I think Opie has just volunteered to give her manicures indefinitely. All right, Opie, bust out those YouTube tutorials and start learning. Yeah, you're 100% a jerk.
Yeah.
I used to do nail art all the time. I unfortunately can't anymore because of my tendon injury, but like that is hard. Like it takes a lot of time and energy and like well, you know, like mastering techniques is not easy. And so like honestly, no one's really going to be paying attention to her nails as closely as you are. So I think there's the two solutions are either you pay for her nails or you do them yourself. Or the option 3 is you just stop talking about them and mind your own business.
Yeah, well, I think that they need to stop bad-mouthing this. And like, what does it hurt for her to do her nails, right? She's learning, she's just taking time, and he's being a real jerk about this. And Red Onyx says, why doesn't OP do his girlfriend's nail if he's so judgmental? I do my own nails, gel, etc. And yeah, it takes a lot of practice, and every 2 weeks is a lot. Yeah, nail salons can just be so expensive, right?
Yeah, well, I've never actually been to one, but look at the prices, like, they can be pretty steep.
Yeah, and I can't blame her for not wanting to put money into this. And he's acting like this is an affront to everyone who looks at her nails when it's no one probably cares that much.
Exactly.
So that's my thoughts. Why don't we take a pause for a second for some tea time? All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she's got a joke for us.
How do bees get to school?
Well, Amber, bees get to school by flying because bees have wings. Where else? How else would they get to school?
The school buzz.
Oh, the school buzz? I didn't know that buzzing was a form of transportation now.
I thought it was a cute joke.
It was.
I was very excited for this one.
It was a very cute joke, and I can see why you were excited about it. No, I thought it was cute. It wasn't a backhanded compliment or anything.
Definitely not.
Now you're gonna make me sound like a horrible human being. Here I am, insulting Amber. School buzz. Yeah, that was a good guess there. Oh, very good, very good. Yeah, I'm far more clever than I am because apparently I'm not very clever at all. And I have Mega Mint tea. So yeah, Mega Mint. Let's move on to the next story. I think we're getting to the end here. So I think we have been burning right through these stories. Our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for telling my wife that I'm moving and it's up to her if she's coming along or not?" Oh, I guess I forgot to move this back to here. So I was looking at the wrong screen. So yeah, our next letter is titled what I said before. "My wife and I have been married for 6 years and have 2 kids under 5. We live on the East Coast in a 2-bedroom small house. The cost of living here is insane. My parents moved down south a few years ago. My mother called me a few weeks ago to tell me about a house in their community that was up for sale. They are good friends with the owner and they can get us a good deal for the house. To me, this sounds amazing, as everything is cheaper and we will have more space and more bedrooms for our kids. I work from home, so I talk to work and I would be able to keep my job no problem. My wife would need to leave hers, but I could cover us until she finds a new one. I contacted a real estate agent to get an estimate on how much we could get for our house and it's a good amount and it would allow us to move easily. Well, once I had everything worked out and I was sure that it was a good idea, I brought it up to my wife. I love how they worked this all out before talking to their wife. She was totally against it immediately. She doesn't want to leave her job, and she doesn't want to move the kids away from their family, and she doesn't want to leave their friends. I explained to her that when she puts her selfish reasons aside, this is a great opportunity for our kids. We will have more money and more space and a big backyard, and we will be closer to my parents, so our kids won't be without family. She said no, there was no chance, that her life is here and has been her entire life, and she has no intentions on changing that. I was mad and slept on the couch and that night. I spent the next night thinking about it and came to the decision that if she doesn't want to do the right thing by our kids, I will. I laid it out for her. It was up to her if she wanted to move, but I had made my decision. She could either come or we could divorce. We could sell the house and split it, and I will use my house half for the new home down south, and she can do whatever she wants with her half up here. Probably would have to rent. We would also have to work out custody for our kids. I told her that she has a month to make the decision, but I was going to get the process started and get all of my business in order. She told me that I was being ridiculous and has only been speaking to me about the kids for the last week. I have been in contact with the seller of the new house and I'm setting things up now. My parents told me that I'm doing the right thing and looking out for my kids. I ran it by my friend, who told me that I'm being a jerk for expecting my wife to change her entire life, but this is what's best for our kids, and I think that she needs to grow up and stop being selfish, and think of our kids. All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Yeah, I think OP's being a major jerk here. This is not, again, the type of thing you do unilateral decisions on. And, like, if they've never talked about moving before, if she's always been in this area and OP just springs on, like, oh, hey, I'm moving. You could come with, you can stay here or not, but, like, I'm moving and taking the kids and I'm selling our house out from under you. Like, that is not the kind of thing a good partner says. Like, if anyone is being selfish in this situation, it's OP. You know? Well, and he's like, well, my parents are here. Like, he doesn't care that his wife will be losing her job, her parents, her support system. She might lose, like, all her career progress. Like, there's so much at stake. And he's just like, you're just being selfish.
Yeah, and Ron Onyx says that they would be in a bad time if their husband did this nonsense. And bright idea,
Same.
Why doesn't he move and she and the kids stay where they are established already? And also, the only person who is selfish is him. And of course, his parents are encouraging him. They're getting their way.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a biased group of people to ask. So I think that OP is being a selfish, self-centered individual, right?
Right. Well, and, like, he's like, just think of the kids, but the kids also have a life here. And, like, it just, just because they would have a bigger backyard or in more space doesn't mean it would be a better life for them. And if their parents are split up, like, that's not necessarily good, and live in different spots and they can't spend as much time with them both. Yeah,
and bold of him to assume that OP is going to sell the house, or that his wife is going to sell the house, rather.
Well, he thinks that he can force it in the divorce proceedings, but, like, I don't think that's how it's going to go. I don't think any of this is going to look very good in court. Like, I think he thinks that I'm just going to take the house and kids and, like, run, and I don't think that's how this will go down.
No, I think that it's actually going to be one of these situations where if he does this, then the judge is going to look at him and be like, this is ridiculous. No, this isn't a fault on her part. This is a fault on your part. You're leaving your family. You're abandoning your family. And he's not going to be able to force her to sell the house. He's also going to owe her child support, potentially alimony too, depending on the situation. So this is not going to work out the way he thinks it's going to work out. This looks like a train wreck waiting to happen.
Yeah, I just hope that OP's wife found this post and can, like, use that to lawyer up.
Yeah, this is certainly not a good situation. And really, I do hope that I just really, really hope that she's able to get a settlement in her favor. So, Morgan's almost caught up to us here. She's guessed Mega Mint, so she got that right.
And Morgan likes the joke too.
Yes.
So
the joke was very successful. That's the important part. The whole thing. Everything.
Well, luckily we're gonna have a great payoff for everyone at the very end. So
yeah, I mean, I think that our last story is actually a really good one. We're not there yet.
we're not.
Our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for moving out of the apartment that my parents bought for me after they made me let my brother live there? They did not buy it specifically for me. I just didn't know how to phrase it better. When I got into university, my parents purchased an apartment close to campus so that I could live without having a great deal of other people. Live my way without having other people. I'm not social, and I could be best described as either a misanthropist or a curmudgeon." So they're very
They're like you.
they don't like people, I guess. I like people. It was great for 2 years, and I came out of my shell a little bit. I met other people like me and discovered that unlike high school, university isn't terrible. I even met a guy, and we both work at the campus store. My little brother graduated last year and got into the same school. Rather than stay in the dorms, he convinced my parents to let him move in with me. Will say that they own it, and they said that they own it and I had no say. Sorry. I lasted 1 semester. Since he had an off-campus residence, my apartment became party central. I asked my parents to make him stop after I talked to him and it didn't work. They said to loosen up. I think that they know how to change my personality. I talked to the university and was able to snag a rare single room in the mature student dorm. I didn't have a lot of stuff, so when we went home for Christmas, I took what was really important to me. My boyfriend, first one ever by the way, looked at me, all social now, cleaned out my room, and moved my stuff to the student housing for me. When we drove back after New Year's, I dropped off my brother, and then I went to my new place. It isn't perfect, but it's pretty sweet. My parents called me and asked where I was. My brother had let them know that I wasn't in the apartment. I told them where I was and why I was there. They were upset that they had spent all that money to help me, and I didn't appreciate it. I said I did, until they stuck me with my brother. Without me there, he is having a blast. Good for him. He's also missing a lot of classes and has been fined for noise complaints by the condo board. But that's not my problem. My parents are asking me to please move back in because my brother is a danger of being put into academic probation. I asked if I was allowed to bar him from having parties and stuff, and he was part of the conversation and was upset that I was asking to be put in charge of him. My parents said that he was allowed some freedom and that as his big sister, I should look out for him and not let him fail.
So you need to watch out for your brother so I can stop the parties? No, you need to watch out for him. It's
Yeah. This is just ridiculous. I thanked them for the opportunity, but declined. And he recently had a party, and then the cops had to shut it down. My parents are considering selling the apartment, but it's kind of bad of market right now, I guess. I feel bad that they might lose money after doing something awesome for me. And I feel bad that my brother might have to take time off from school to calm down. But I don't think that I'm a jerk. They all do, though. All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
No, not the jerk. I am a person a bit like OP. It would have been torture for me I couldn't have spent a semester in Party Central. I would have been there one night and then I'm out. I don't even care where I'm going. Nope, no more.
Yeah, I don't like loud noises. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be around people who are partying and, being loud and all that stuff.
And they bought OP this apartment so she wouldn't have to deal with the noises and the chaos and the people. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, wait, yeah, no, we're taking that all away from you. OP gets adjusted. She has her nice, safe, quiet enclosure. And they're it's so frustrating to me reading this. And OP, you've done nothing wrong. You just want to have a place where you're not having to deal with loud parties all the time. And that's totally understandable, totally reasonable.
Yeah, I think that that's really the thing here is that this is a reasonable expectation. The reason why her brother is failing out of classes is because he's partying. If they don't let OP hammer down on those, then there's no point in OP moving back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's still going to be loud. She's still going to be upset. Her brother is still going to continue to have parties and fail.
Well, it's like they expect her to somehow like make him shape up without giving her any control. And like, you're not your brother's babysitter. He's an adult. He can figure things out for himself.
Yeah. And Red Onyx says, little brother is probably the golden child. Parents thought OP would be the de facto parent and care for their reckless son, and is now mad that OP didn't want to deal with her child. Boo hoo, kick rocks. Oh, and Rose Lover's here as well, so hi. And you're able to catch live stream, so welcome. We actually still have 1 or 2 stories left. But our next one here, I guess we actually probably should figure out what our next story is going to be. What do you want it to be? Because we have time for 2 stories.
All right, let's see.
So, and Red Onyx says, my idea of a party is chill, hang out. So if I had to deal with bros nonstop, everyone would get a personal intro to my bad attitude. So, yeah, well, that's just it. It's like parties sometimes can be really loud, really obnoxious, and just not fun at all for certain people.
Yeah, well, I've never been to a loud noise type. I've never been to a college party. We'll put it that way. Like, I've only ever been to the quiet, like hanging out in someone's house type of things, and like. It is not an experience I like. My aunt and uncle were always like, you need to go to at least one college party to experience it. And it's like, no, I know myself well enough to know I do not need to experience it.
Yeah, exactly. Which one did you want to go for?
We can go with the first one.
This one? All
yeah.
right. So, just shifting things around because we still have we have time for 2 stories. So let's read this next one. Or well, maybe we have 5 minutes left, so...
Let's just go on to the last one.
Yeah, we'll go to the last story, and maybe if we have a little bit of time, we'll read another one. So our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Renting a Goat? So I'm a 30-year-old male, and I hate cutting grass. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. The sound of the lawnmower makes me wish I could take my ears off like Mr. Potato, and speaking of loud noises, and lock them in a box. It hurts my shoulder. I injured it in high school and it's never healed right. And I might be the only person in the world who doesn't like the smell of cut grass and gasoline.
It's 2 of us.
Well, this week was the very first week this year that I would need to cut the grass. We live in a fairly warm state and the HOA is very strict about it. We even have a little flag around at the front yard where the grass isn't allowed to get any taller than that. The point is that the lawn needs to be mowed, and I don't want to do it. My wife can't because the last time she mowed, she just tipped it into the lake. So, just happens that I know a guy who owns a goat, and I offered him $20 to bring it over to eat the grass for me. The goat eats the grass that we keep her far away from the neighbor's yard, and the goat goes home. It was great. Way better than mowing. Well, except now my wife is mad because some of the neighbors saw the goat and think that it's hysterical that we had a goat doing yard work for us. She's mad that I made us look like weird hicks in front of all of her friends. And I don't care if they think that we're a little weird. I'm happy to be laughed at if it means saving myself from a headache, including the sound of a lawnmower. But now she's making weird comments around the house about getting a horse to carry groceries or chickens to clean the windows since there's no man in the house who can. I didn't expect her to react so negatively to the goat, but maybe I'm missing something here. Am I the jerk? And the goat does not violate the HOA's policies. They have strict rules against farm animals, but if they say the HOA president's daughter wants a pony at her birthday for a few hours, that's okay. And then we actually have a picture of the goat.
Yeah, so this is... There's the goat.
Yeah, May the goat. Sorry, my throat's actually getting a little sore here, so...
But I don't think OP was a jerk here. He found a creative solution to their lawn troubles, and, like, you know, if she can't, yeah, I understand that she has, upset around. There's the story is that she was mowing it's in the comments that she was mowing the lawn for her dad. He told her not to go too close to the lake. She went too close to the lake, tipped in, and has now been traumatized off of lawn work. But like, that's not an excuse to force it on your partner. Like, he's found a solution where neither of you have to do it, and I think that's fine.
Yeah, well, welcome back to live, Morgan. And so we explained to the story of that, and Rose Lover says, yes, good. Use a goat for cutting grass. I know someone with a goat, and I would 100% do this. I think it's great, honestly. I think that we need to incorporate more farm animals into doing chores like this because goats are good for the environment. They're good for the grass. They don't produce the same, carbon emissions, and they get to enjoy munching on fresh grass, right? And Morgan says, not the jerk, but get headphones. If OP has to cut grass, what's wrong with a goat eating? Yeah. And Renonic says, but goats are very efficient, environmental. This isn't the first time I've heard of goats being used to clear grass or even invasive plants. So yeah, I mean, goats are really great for the environment. So if I had to mow my own lawn, then I would get a goat, honestly. I would want a goat to mow lawns. And I think that they can be a really cute resource, right? Look at that goat. How can you say no to May May the goat?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's the end here. I would read another one, but my throat is actually getting to the point where if I read another one, then...
We're on tea time.
Yeah. Oh, I was supposed to go to the outro scene. Look at me. I fixed the outro scene, folks. It's April 28th is the next live stream. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you all for joining us today. I really enjoyed having everyone here. Hopefully the time shift wasn't too much for people because we had daylight savings time, and then that always creates confusion. But hopefully this is the last time we've had to do the switch because I think they're getting rid of it.
Hopefully.
Yeah, the only thing that you have to deal with is goat poop, but not for the end of the video. So, thanks so much for watching, everyone. I'm glad that you were able to at least catch one episode, one video, one story, Rose Lover. And yeah, welcome to the first live stream then. I thought you had been at maybe I just saw your name in the comments, but I had already thought you had been at a live stream, Red Onyx. I guess I'm just I'm confused. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Oh, it's fine. It's just that if I read for like an hour long, because I'm loud and then I get obnoxiously loud, and so I'm basically just over here yelling into the mic for an hour. So, yeah, my throat's fine. It'll be better tomorrow. So, yeah, thank you all so much for joining us, and we will see you all tomorrow, probably.
Bye.